Yeah. Family, y'all. Just keep it tight, keep it tight, keep it tight. Oh, right. Yeah. Here we go.
I'm the Reverend Dr. Jamie Mathias, pastor of Holy Family Catholic Church in Austin, Texas. Have you ever had one of those experiences when you couldn't choose between two things? Like you're out shopping and you can't decide, should I buy this one or that one, the red one or the blue one? We've all had that kind of experience. I just had one of those moments on Monday. I was shopping in Monterrey, Mexico, and since this is Holy Family Catholic Church, I couldn't decide between two images of the Holy Family. Should I buy the one where Mary is dressed in blue and Joseph is dressed in red, I wondered? Or should I buy the one where Mary is dressed in red and Joseph is dressed in blue? Which image would you choose? The red Mary or the blue Mary? It probably depends on where you're from. Here in the United States, we tend to think of Mary as always wearing blue. You'd think that her closet didn't contain any other color. But isn't blue the color for boys and pink the color for girls? So maybe Mary should be in pink or red? Colors are always symbolic. We identify blue with some things, like boys and Democrats, and red with other things, like danger and anger and Republicans. So, what could be the symbolism of dressing Mary or Joseph in red or blue? To understand this, we need to step back in time. By the time that Rome was sacked in 407 AD, the capital of the empire had been moved to Constantinople in modern-day Turkey. This Constantinople-centered empire is no longer referred to as the Roman Empire, but as the Byzantine Empire. And the Byzantine Empire had a characteristic style of religious art, as can be seen in these two crucifixes. Both of these crucifixes are Byzantine crucifixes, that is, they're characteristic of the Eastern style of art found in the Constantinople-centered Roman Empire. But look closely. One crucifix is blue and the other is red. Why the difference? First, let's look at the blue crucifix. Franciscans call this one the, wait for it, the blue cross. The cross is blue, Jesus is dressed in blue, Mary is dressed in blue, and John the beloved disciple is dressed in blue. Hence the name, the blue cross. Now let's look at the red crucifix. Franciscans call this one, no, they don't call it the red cross, they call it the San Damiano cross. According to the story, this is the Byzantine crucifix that spoke to St. Francis of Assisi, commanding him to rebuild the church. The principal color of the cross is red. And though Jesus isn't dressed in red, Mary and John the beloved disciple are. So, what is the significance of these two colors, red and blue, in Byzantine art? You can probably guess. Which Jesus looks more dead, the red or the blue? The blue cross. Which Jesus looks like he's suffering more? The blue cross. Which Jesus seems more triumphant, more alive? The red cross. Looking closely, Jesus isn't hanging on the red cross. Instead, he's standing up, triumphant over sin and death in Byzantine art. And so in Byzantine art, blue is the color of humanity, and red is the color of divinity. And so the blue cross contains a Jesus who is very human like us, and the red cross contains a very divine Jesus, an image of Jesus as the Son of God. Which Jesus do we find in today's gospel? A red cross Jesus or a blue cross Jesus? And which Jesus did we find in last Sunday's gospel? In Sunday's gospel, we had Jesus crying out from the cross saying, my God, why have you abandoned me?" And then he died. Is that a red cross Jesus or a blue cross Jesus? Definitely a blue cross Jesus, a very human Jesus who suffers like us. That was the Jesus that we saw a few days ago, and it served as a good balance for Sunday's first gospel, in which the people of Jerusalem welcomed Jesus into their city with great joy. What a roller coaster ride that was. At the beginning of the Mass, the people were singing, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." And by the end of the Mass, we heard those same people shouting, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" In today's first reading, Isaiah speaks of the suffering of this blue cross Jesus, spurned and avoided by people, a man of suffering, accustomed to infirmity, one of those from whom people hide their faces. This is the Jesus who was pierced for our offenses and crushed for our sins. In today's gospel, though, we don't have a blue cross Jesus. Instead, we have a Jesus who is totally in control. He knows that his hour has come. He talks about his attendants fighting to keep him from being handed over, and people are afraid of him. And his last words on the cross are not, my God, why have you abandoned me?" Rather, he acknowledges, it is finished, and he himself gave up his spirit. This is the red cross Jesus. Today's second reading portrays this red cross Jesus as the great high priest who has passed through the heavens and who is without sin. And when he was made perfect, he became the source of eternal salvation for all who obey him. This is a far cry from the blue cross Jesus, who more closely resembles us. Remember, the blue cross Jesus is deeply human. The red cross Jesus is divine. So, how do you see Jesus? As more human or as more divine? Interestingly, we are human like the blue cross Jesus, yet we aspire to be more and more like God, like the red cross Jesus. We all live in a world of suffering, like the blue cross Jesus, yet we believe that sin and death are conquered by the red cross Jesus. Today, as we remember Jesus' death on the cross, may we reflect on our own human nature and the human nature of our blue cross Jesus, and may we find ourselves becoming more and more like the red cross Jesus who gives us hope. Yes, we suffer with blue Jesus, but we live with the hope of one day rising with red Jesus. And that's what we celebrate tomorrow.